employees or students. We request that this person speaking in open forum on items not on the agenda refrain from raising complaints against such individuals or personally identifying them in any way in their remarks unless it is pursuant to the district's grievance policies. Please contact the appropriate administrator to address your comments or concerns. There's generally a 5-minute time limit on individual presentations. If groups wish to speak on the same topic, the board may ask, but is not required, that a spokesperson be appointed to speak for the group. The board president may extend additional time at his or her discretion or shorten the allowed time for each speaker to not less than 2 minutes if the speaking requests are so numerous as to hinder the orderly conduct of the board's meeting on pending business. Anyone wishing to speak either as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so at this time. I see that the first speaker signed up tonight is Mr. Seth Phillips. You're welcome to step up to the microphone and state your full name and address. Yes. Okay.
Hi, my name is Seth Phillips. I am the attorney for Dr. Hamilton. With respect to my address, I would just provide my firm mailing address, Post Office Box 720191, Dallas, Texas 75372. Dr. Hamilton is a term contract employee of the district. On tonight's agenda at 5 p.m. Is an executive session scheduled with the following statutory provision listed as justification for said session. Section 551.074, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. Further down on the agenda during the regular session at 7 p.m., Item 12, reports of the superintendent, lists for subsection B, consider authorizing the superintendent to give notice of proposed contract termination during the contract year of a term contract employee. Action. Despite Dr. Hamilton's name not being posted on the board agenda in relation to this item, we have it on information and belief that the discussion contemplated is in regard to a complaint against Dr. Hamilton. Texas Government Code Section 551.074B states, in relevant part, that executive session does not apply if the officer or employee who is the subject of the deliberation or hearing requests a public hearing. Section 551.082B states a similar provision specifically regarding school board meetings when, quote, the employee against whom the complaint or charge is brought requests, quote, an open hearing in writing. We have provided such a demand in writing to legal counsel for the district. Therefore, Dr. Hamilton reiterates his objection to the executive session and demands that any deliberation related to the complaint at issue and his employment be conducted in open session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will go back into the gallery for workshop session. Thank you, guys. So my apologies. At 5:10, we are going into workshop session, which is an open session, and that is at 5:10. Thank you. (7:16). All trustees present, and we do apologize. We knew we had a room full tonight, and we always try to make sure we stay on schedule, but sometimes our executive sessions and workshops take a little longer, so we do apologize, and thank y'all for being patient with us, so we will get going. So at this time, the Grapevine-Colleyville Independent School District Board of Trustees and the Central Administration will pause for a moment of silence to reflect on the continued successes of our district, the safety and well-being of our students, our dedicated teachers and staff, and our supportive community. Thank y'all very much. Now let's get to the exciting part. We have O.C. Taylor in the house tonight, don't we? So at this time, we are honored to have the students at O.C. Taylor. They're going to proudly represent their school by leading the U.S. Pledge, followed by the Texas Pledge. And then they're going to share some thoughts on how they are progressing towards the portrait of a graduate. Would those students come up at this time?
We face them. We face the flags. That's right. Let's see. Here's the flag. Here's doing the American.
Please stand and salute the flag and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Well, my name is Lisa Petavilla, and I'm the principal at O.C. Taylor. And our vision at O.C. Taylor is to empower our children today to create a better tomorrow. And we have two of our student council sponsors here. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Hallie Mankins. I teach 4th grade at O.C. Taylor, and I'm one of the student council sponsors.
And I'm Stacy Wispin, and I'm the counselor.
At O.C. Taylor, we do not host we do not host an open house. We host a portrait of a graduate showcase. All year long, we work on developing these skills. Tonight, we're going to explain how it is evident in our campus.
We are collaborative workers. Our teachers teach us how to work together and solve conflict. This is Bridge and I cutting out letters for the Great Tiger Bulletin Board. We build relationships, work toward common goals, respect diversity, and are able to disagree respectfully. One example is when Bridge and I disagreed on a question in our science class, we talked about it and worked it out.
We are effective communicators. Our teachers are training us to speak one-on-one to a large group. For example, when my friend and I wanted to work together and wanted to do different projects, we talked together using eye contact and each other's names to come to a decision. In the classrooms, our teacher assigned us times to speak to the entire class or school, like a book talk, research on an animal adaptation diorama, historical character, live wax exam, and our future humanities era project.
We are global citizens.
O.C. Taylor has taught us to be very good global citizens in many different ways. They have taught us about the different states, countries, and cultures around the world and in our country. Like in 4th grade, we FaceTimed another class across the country, and we got to build relationships with our partners and able to have fun with the project we were assigned to. And we got to learn about the culture in their state and what they do in their classroom, and they got to learn the same about Texas and we also do stuff around the world too. We just finished up a fundraiser called the Pink Pumpkin Challenge, where if you bring in $1, you get one pink pumpkin, and all the money that we raised would go to breast cancer research around the world. We ended up raising $1,710 for breast cancer research.
Very good.
We are self-regulated learners.
Our teachers are guiding us to be goal-directed and responsible for our own effort. The first day of school, we set our specific goals for the school year. At OC Taylor, we are taught PDSA, which stands for Plan, Do, Study, Act. This acronym helps us from setting our goal, tracking our progress, and eventually accomplishing our goal. Being a self-regulated learner is great because we get to set our goals ourselves, work towards what we want to accomplish, and feel accomplished knowing that we set our goal ourselves and accomplished it ourselves.
We are skilled problem solvers.
Our teachers teach us how to be skilled problem solvers. For example, we do this thing called the Great Turkey Race. We get in groups and the teacher gives us items. We work in groups to get the turkey across the room without touching it in 30 seconds or less. The only items we could use were construction paper, 3 pieces of tape, styrofoam bowl, and feathers. The way my group solved the problem was everybody got different jobs.
These are all qualities of a portrait of a graduate and OC Taylor Tigers. We are thankful to our staff and teachers. And what is it like to be an OC Taylor Tiger? It's great. Thank you for your time.
Wait, if you would say your name and...
My name is Allie Payne, and I'm on the 4th grade leadership team. I'm Lucia Livingston, and I'm on the 4th grade leadership team.
My name is Owen Barnett, and I'm the historian of the student council.
My name is Tyler Thompson, and I'm the treasurer of the student council.
My name is Bridge Barecki, and I'm the secretary of the student council.
My name is Addison Gormley, and I am the president of the student council.
My name is Piper Smith, and I'm in the 4th grade leadership team.
My name is Parker Risky, and I'm on the 4th grade leadership team.
My name is Asia Evans, and I am the vice president of the student leadership.
My name is Landon Holland, and I'm on the 4th grade leadership team.
Now, I was going to say, before you sit down, everyone, she just took, your principal took half of my script, so I don't have to announce your names now. So y'all did a great job. They did a great job announcing their names. So if you turn around, so I know parents want to take pictures. And I was going to say parents stand up, but I think we'll know who they are by taking the photos. Thank y'all very much. And Ms. Peterville, I know you said you announced you had your counselor and your 4th grade.
And a 4th grade teacher
that
is our student council sponsor.
Anybody else here you would like to?
Well, we have
a lot of parents.
Doting parents back there. If you're an OC Taylor Tiger of one of the student council leaderships, if you would raise your hands, thank you. Oh yeah, it's over there. Go.
Thank you.
Very cool.
And I want to say, Bridge, I think you have a future as a newscaster. You have an excellent voice. All of y'all did an outstanding job. So thank you all for being here tonight and showing us what great things are happening at OC Taylor. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Superintendent Dr. Robin Ryan for the introduction of our recognition this evening.
Thank you very much. It's at this point in our board meeting where we bring to our community and to our board an update about our strategic plan that we call Lead 2.0. And so as we transition to this next phase of Lead 2.0, we're excited this month to have a report from our special services team, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Schnauz.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ryan. In tonight's Lead 2.0 highlight, the board will hear from our special services team and learn about department initiatives that support our Lead 2.0 goals, specifically around removing barriers for our learners with disabilities. Dr. Wishman, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. So, members of the trustees and Dr. Ryan, others in the room, I thank you for this opportunity to spotlight some of the work we're doing in the Special Services Department. In support of LEAD 2.0, we want to highlight two of the goals. The first one is Goal 1, which is actively identify and remove barriers that limit access to the opportunities for learning. And the second goal that we're going to highlight is Goal 3, which is create a culture that fosters learning environments that reflect student voice and promote student engagement. In order for a student to receive special education services, they must qualify with one of the 13 special education disability categories. You can see those up on this slide. And as a result of those disabilities, they must require specially designed instruction through special education instruction or related services. On this slide, you'll see the current status of our students in Grapevine-Colleyville by their primary disability. So this is only looking at the first disability that is determined by the ARD committee. A lot of these students will have other secondary or tertiary disabilities along with those, but this is pulled by the primary disability. So just simply to be in special education, we provide specially designed instruction, which actually is the very message behind removing barriers. So when you look at the definition, which is our federal definition of specially designed instruction, this is for a student who's eligible for special education with a disability, and it allows us to modify the content, methodology, or the delivery of instruction in order to meet the unique needs that rise from their disability. This is to allow them to have maximum access based on their individual needs within the learning environment. So I've put together some pictures of our students demonstrating some of the barriers that we've identified and we try to mitigate through services that we provide. You'll see in this slide a video magnifier for a student that is getting her work magnified and she can edit her responses in this program. We also have a student accessing the environment independently using the white cane. On this one, we have a student with a hearing impairment. She actually has a cochlear implant, and we minimize the barriers by using sound amplification equipment that links into the iPad so she can hear what's happening on the software that she's manipulating. Here we have a picture of a student using Braille, using a Brailler and a Braille display. So those are two pieces of equipment that a student with a visual impairment would use to help minimize the barriers. In this slide, you'll see a student using what is called a sensory walk. This allows for sensory breaks where they actually do physical movement, which then helps them remain focused on the instruction that's happening in the classroom. These are just a few of the examples that I wanted to show you. There are many others I could have highlighted, but those were some I thought maybe you would enjoy seeing. When we look at Goal 3, to support the Student Voice Initiative, there are two things that we've been really focusing on the last couple of years. One of those is accessing student voice for those students who do not have the ability to use oral communication. So they use alternative modes of communication. So that's one way. The other emphasis we've been doing is on learner-led ARD meetings. So that is, you'll get to see that highlight in just a second. So in this picture, you'll see a student who is actually using a piece of software called Proloquo. And this is an ability, it gives her the ability to select the message she wants said, and the program actually says it for her. These pictures, you'll see another device. One is called a Go Talk, which also activates a voice for the student after they select the message. And then the other one is a picture exchange communication, where they're actually using pictures for the purposes of communication. As far as learner-led ARDs, we wanted to tap into student voice by allowing them to have a part in their annual ARD meetings. And we tailor this based on the individual needs and abilities of the student. So some of the students may introduce the ARD committee members to the rest of the committee. So they would introduce their teachers and introduce their parents, and tell the committee who they are and what role they play in their education. Some of our students actually express whether their accommodations are being effective and which accommodations they need and which ones they no longer need. So it's a really strong, powerful way to get student voice into designing the instructional supports a student needs to be successful. In this picture, this was actually scripted during the ARD meeting, where the student expressed their likes and dislikes, and this allowed the committee to embed the student's voice within the services that were designed in the ARD committee process. The last one that I want to show you is, and you'll hear more on this, is last year we had a student who is here with me this evening. She took the learner-led ARD process to a whole new level, and she led her entire ARD using Braille, which you can see right there is a Brailled agenda. And she led the entire meeting. So at this time, I'd like to invite Emily Anderson to join me. She is a freshman at Grapevine High School, and she's going to tell you in her own words about her experience last year. So Emily, come on up.
Where's the microphone down the back? Oh, it's right there. Yes. My name is Emily Anderson. I am a visually impaired freshman at Grapevine High School. Here with me today to support me are my parents, Cammie and David Anderson. I'd like to thank Dr. Wishman and the Board of Trustees for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. Last year, I led my own ARD meeting. In case you are unfamiliar with an ARD meeting, I began by introducing all the people in attendance. We developed goals and services for me to work on for the year. Part of the ARD process is preparing me for life after GCISD. My personal goal is to prepare for college and embark on a career that involves helping people. The other activities that I participate in to help prepare me include debate, principles of law, and Spanish. Some of the materials and equipment that are used to help me overcome barriers to access the learning environment include my Braille display, Brailler, talking calculator, use of iPad, VoiceOver, and more. I also participate in choir. Leading my own ARD made me feel a little nervous, but also powerful in that my voice mattered. I was prepared for leading my own ARD by discussing it and making a script with my previous vision teacher. Before learning the ARD process, I was dreading not knowing how to be in charge of my education. After preparing, I feel more confident in knowing that I choose the tools I use on a daily basis and feel more knowledgeable on explaining it all to my teachers. Thank you.
that's all we have, unless you have some questions for us.
Do we have any questions?
I actually do have a question for Emily. So I know in our elementary grades, one of the things that I've seen with my own kids was student-led conferences that took the place of the parent-teacher conference. And I'm curious how long you've been in GCISD and if you had that experience when you were in elementary. And since you're a freshman now, that maybe I'd like to hear your thoughts on maybe this is something we need to think about at the middle school level, that we're kind of skipping that middle school piece and allowing the students to take control of some of their learning.
I've been in GCISD since I was in kindergarten, leaving for 2 years to go to a school in Austin for the visually impaired. So I've been at GCISD for most of my education, and I actually didn't do the student conferences that you're talking about. I do believe, however, that that would actually be helpful on the middle school level to have the kids be more involved in their education and stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions, but thank you very much, Emily. It was
Great job.
It was great.
So again, thank you to Emily and the Anderson family and Dr. Wishman. And so if we could have a little photo up right here, we want to make sure that we capture this moment for a fantastic presentation in front of the Board of Trustees and our audience that's here. Most importantly, Emily, what I heard was you are in charge of your own education, and you can certainly tell that your views and that your tenacity is so important in this journey at Grapevine High School. So, Anderson family and Dr. Wishman and Mr. Denning. You can't hide back there, Mr. Denning.
Right here on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
Another round of applause for for Emily Anderson. Next, we'll have our recognitions portion of the meeting. The first recognition tonight is for a few of our GCISD Special Olympians who had a big weekend in the swimming pool a little bit earlier this month at the Special Olympics Texas Fall Classic in College Station. Please come forward as your name is called, and Trustee Louis Sullins would present each of you with a certificate of recognition, and then remain up front and we'll take a picture there. First of all, we have Colin Coffey. There's Colin. Colin is a senior at Grapevine High School. He earned a gold medal in the 50-meter backstroke and a silver medal in the 25-meter freestyle and a bronze medal in the 100-meter backstroke. Congratulations, Colin. Joining Colin, we have Tyler Francis. Tyler is a transition student at Grapevine High School. He earned 2 gold medals with personal best times in the 25-meter backstroke and the 50-meter freestyle. In addition, he earned a 4th place in the 25-meter freestyle. And then we have Millie Pomaro. Millie is the junior at Colorado Heritage High School, earned a silver medal in the 25-meter freestyle and bronze medals in the 25-meter butterfly and the 50-meter backstroke. We'd also like to recognize Jill Hall, coach of our Special Olympic swimmers, and Joanne Wishman, the GCISD Executive Director of Special Services. If you could join us up front. Parents and friends, if you will just kind of wave and let us know where you are, so we can recognize you. Let's thank our parents for their support as well. Congratulations to our medalists. this time, I'd like to introduce Rudy Segura. There's Rudy. He's actually an attorney with McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton. And they are our bond counsel. So when, we're going to let you present, looks like you're bearing gifts.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a few gifts here. I'm Rudy Segudo with McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton. Dr. Ryan was kind enough to invite me here. About a month ago, we gave a presentation to some students from Grapevine High School, and they watched us sell bonds, which is about as exciting as you can imagine selling bonds is.
We have some students from Caldwell Heritage there too, so Grapevine High School and Caldwell Heritage.
And so at the time, I bought some old bearer bonds that actually were the district's back. There was a time when selling bonds was more exciting because it was an actual piece of paper and it would actually be traded. And so I bought some old bearer bonds, and the kids kind of got to, thank you, understand the concept of trading them and selling them. And Dr. Ryan said he'd like to, see them framed. So this is our gift from our firm, just the frames. The bonds are y'all's. But these were old specimens that, buyers were given right before closings to look at the bond and make sure everything was accurate and correct. We have had the privilege of representing Grapevine Independent School District. I said Grapevine Independent School since 1949. And Colleyville Independent School District since 1951. So 70 years. Our law firm just turned 100 years old May 1st. So we are one of the oldest law firms in Texas, and it's thanks to clients like y'all. Repeat. Once in a while I get a client that hasn't issued bonds in 50 years, and I say we depend on repeat business. We appreciate it. But y'all obviously are growing quickly. There's a total of 6 bonds in here. I'm not going to pull them all out now, but just wanted to thank y'all, just a gift to y'all to put up. One other little historical anecdote that came up was we do have a file, 1962 Grapevine ISD, Colleyville ISD consolidation, and was asked, why did the two consolidate? And I pulled the file. I can't tell you why, just we were asked to consolidate the two and hold an election. At one point, there were 5,000 ISDs in Texas. I think we're down to about 1,000. So anyhow, thank you all for having me. Thank you all for letting us serve Grapevine Colleyville ISD. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rudy. We look forward to displaying those. Rudy, do you have the dates on those bonds? Do you know?
Yes, these are, I know what they are. These are a couple of 2 series in 1962, and I believe 3, so those were issued right before the 2 districts consolidated. And then 3 series in 1985. There were some serious tax law changes that happened in 1986, so everyone rushed to market. Most of our clients issued bonds in 85. So anyhow, pretty cool. And I hope, I do go to cities occasionally, and I find similar frames hanging. On the backs of the bonds, you can see our law firm's opinion printed. Oftentimes people, their parents will pass, their grandparents will pass, and they'll find these bonds in their drawer, and the only thing still hanging around is our law firm, and our name and number on the back is still the same. And so we get a call and are asked to investigate, the validity of this bond, where they can get their $1,000. This is the first time I've been, I had the privilege to present to a client, so I'm glad. I hope they will hang on your walls forever.
We're very appreciative. Thank you so much. Next, we have the Red Ribbon Week proclamation. GCISD students and staff are joining others across the nation for the annual Red Ribbon Week celebration. The purpose of this week-long celebration is to promote family and individual responsibility for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles. And to show our support for this initiative, we have an official proclamation to share. I'll ask Board Secretary Doug Noel to read the official proclamation.
All right. Now you've got me tongue-tied now that you made me think about Red Ribbon Week. It's a little hard to say. All right. Grapevine Colleyville Independent School District Proclamation of Red Ribbon Week 2019. Whereas the state of Texas and Grapevine Colleyville Independent School District value the health and safety of all of our students, all of our citizens, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children, and a contributing factor in the 3 leading causes of death for teenagers: accidents, homicides, and suicides. And whereas it is the goal of the Texas Red Ribbon Campaign in the Grapevine-Colleyville Independent School District to involve families, schools, businesses, churches, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign, and to establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent illegal drug use. And whereas the Texas Red Ribbon Campaign theme promotes family and individual responsibility for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles without illegal drugs or the illegal use of legal drugs. And whereas there are many activities planned during the Red Ribbon Campaign in the Grapevine-Colleyville Independent School District. Now, therefore, the Superintendent of Schools and the President of the Board of Trustees of the Grapevine-Colleyville Independent School District do hereby proclaim October 23rd to 31st as Red Ribbon Week throughout the school district. Furthermore, we urge all citizens to join in the week's activities and to work all year long to protect our community from the dangers of alcohol and other drugs.
So let's celebrate Secretary Noel's reading of the Red Ribbon Week. You did that a great job, and certainly it is Red Ribbon Week in GCISD. This proclamation is going to be posted on our website and then also be here and live in the administration building for the remainder of the week. Thank you very much. Our next recognition is for one of our staff members. We'd like to recognize GCISD Coordinator of Career and Technical Education, Candace McGowan. Candace has earned the Association for Career and Technical Education Region 4 Career Guidance Award. And we see that Mindy McClure is going to present you with a certificate of recognition. Candace previously won the State of Texas Career Guidance Award and has now been named the winner for all of ACTE Region 4, which includes Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. Candace is now one of 5 finalists for the 2020 National Career Guidance Award, which will be announced at the ACTE's National Conference in Anaheim this December. This award recognizes school counselors and career development professionals who have demonstrated commitment to connecting students with opportunities for success, shown innovation in career exploration and development, and it has advocated for career and technical education as a viable option for students. Candace, where'd you go?
She walked off. She's gonna stay up here.
If I've got to read it, you got to stand up here. Since 2013, Candace has focused on providing targeted CTE opportunities for middle and high school students at GCISD, and during her tenure, she's opened the GCISD Go Centers at both high schools, which are dedicated to helping students prepare for and obtain the post-secondary education and training that's appropriate for them and their future. So you're one of the top 5 in the nation at this point. Is that right? Yes. Congratulations to Candace McGowan. We already got a picture, Matt? Okay, good deal.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're recognizing some more students at this point. We want to recognize a special group of 13 GCISD seniors that have been recognized by the College Board as the 2019 and 2020 National Hispanic Scholars. In order to be eligible for this distinction, students must meet a qualifying score on the preliminary SAT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, or the PSAT. They must have a 3.5 GPA and must be at least 1/4 Hispanic or Latino descent. These students represent the top 1% of Hispanic or Latino students in the nation and have shown exceptional academic ability. Being a part of this program enables them to highlight their outstanding educational achievements to top colleges and universities across the country. GCISD has now had nearly 40 students recognized as National Hispanic Scholars in just the last 3 years. So when I call your name, please come forward so that Trustee Jesse Rodriguez can present you with a certificate of recognition. So from Colleyville Heritage High School, we've got Giselle Garcia. From Grapevine High School, we've got Ethan Hallman Gonzalez. Also from Grapevine High School, Nicholas Morin. And Kelsey Page. While we're taking pictures, I'm going to read the names of the folks that could not join us tonight. Trinity Balzer, Alex Brightman, Alana Hill, Nicole Hill, Pablo Lazariaga, that's it, Joshua Rummel, and Sabrina Turner, Derek Romanowski, and Maria Valencia Nairo. Let's give all of our students a round of applause. And let's have our two high school principals up here in the picture. Congratulations to our National Hispanic Scholars and to their parents. Let's give them a round of applause. Next, we'd like to recognize another group of incredible GCISD seniors, and it's a very large group. Our 2019-20 National Merit Commended students, these 52 members of the class of 2020 were selected based on their scores on the PSAT. Most of you are familiar with the National Merit Program and may remember we honored our 11 semifinalists last month. And with the National Merit Program, each state has a different cutoff score for what it takes to be named a semifinalist in Texas, and that cutoff score is especially high here. In fact, there are only 5 states that have a higher semifinalist cutoff than Texas. Just below the semifinalist cutoff score is a commended cutoff that is set nationally, and this group of 52 all achieved that score, with quite a few finishing just 1 point shy of that next score, the semifinalist cutoff. Even with these high cutoffs of 221 for semifinalists and 212 for commended, GCISD has now had 240 students recognized as either National Merit semifinalists or commended students over the last 4 years, including 63 this year, which is up from last year's number of 50. We're excited to celebrate these students and their families and teachers and staff that make an impact on them, and so when I call your name, Trustee Doug Noel will, and also, I think we have quite a few. So Trustee Becky St. John, I believe, is going to join us also with our certificates of recognition. From Colleyville Heritage High School, Brittany Chong. Jaden Guthrie. Lauren Hurley. Terelia Ingram. Lauren Coleman. Varshini Krishnan. Tassine Safi. Catherine Shadman. Tate Shearhart.
Students, step back. Come on back.
Make a little room. And Eileen Zhao. Again, several folks could not join us tonight, but we will talk about the folks from Grapevine High School who could join us. And so we'll ask them to come forward. Dr. Gropel, have you taken your picture with this
Yes,
group
sir.
yet?
I haven't taken my picture with them. Would you like for me to?
Yeah, let's take a picture with them. You bet.
If it's okay with them. I'd love that opportunity, Dr. Ryan.
All right, guys. Here, 1, 2, 3.
And then I'll just ask you to squeeze over to the side because we still need you for the big picture of everybody in the district. And so, from Grapevine High School, Wesley Anderson. Preston Cornelius. Ashley Dove. Kristen Edwards. Nathan Faulkner. Nicholas Morin. Megan Palmer. Samantha Summerstein. Mr. Denning, now it's your turn, and then we'll get one. Parents, make sure you get your opportunity for a picture here. Okay.
This is a trig problem right here. Let's make 2 lines, people. Come on, 2 rows. Tall people in the back, short people in the front, medium height people in the middle.
Mix the schools up.
Okay, school's okay. Can everybody see the camera?
Let's get somewhere where you can see me.
That was very quickly done. Very proud of you guys.
Pretty smart, so. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Parents, thank you so much for your support in GCISD. We're very, very proud of our commended students this evening. And that concludes tonight's recognition portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. At this time, we move to open forum. And do we have
We do have
signups?
We do have signups. Next on the agenda is the open forum section. I'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait just for a second.
I realized that after I started talking.
Yeah, we got a little bit louder. There's a lot of smartness in this room at one time.
They just walked out.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You don't take it wrong with average IQ just went down.
I was hoping some of it would just come back to me.
Let it go.
I think by shaking their hands, maybe you absorb some.
Got to put it on my head.
Yeah.
All right, next on the agenda is the open forum section of our board meeting. Any person who is not scheduled on the agenda may address the board during open forum by completing the request to speak form and submitting it to the Executive Director of Communications prior to the meeting. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board is restricted from discussing or taking action on items presented during the open forum if the item is not listed on tonight's agenda. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, board members may respond to comments when the agenda item is considered. In addition, this is not the forum that the district has provided to raise and resolve complaints about individual employees or students. We request that persons speaking in open forum on items not on the agenda refrain from raising complaints against such individuals or personally identifying them in any way in their remarks unless it is pursuant to the district's grievance policies. Please contact the appropriate administrator to address your comments or concerns. There is generally a 5-minute time limit on individual presentations. If groups wish to speak on the same topic, the board may ask, but is not required, that a spokesperson be appointed to speak for the group. The board president may extend additional time at his or her discretion or shorten the allowed time for each speaker to not less than 2 minutes if the speaking requests are so numerous as to hinder the orderly conduct of the board's meeting on pending business. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so at this time. I see that the first speaker signed up tonight is Presley Simpson. You're welcome to step up to the microphone, state your full name and address.
My name is Presley Simpson, and I'm a student at Colleyville Middle School in 6th grade. I'm a star dance team member, artist, and proud dyslexic. As most of y'all know, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. On the paper in front of you is a visual aid of my favorite Einstein quote. The quote states that if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it is stupid. Dyslexic kids are the fish and other kids are the squirrels. So all the fish need to be in the tree is a pulley, or in other words, accommodations. I am thankful for the wonderful teachers that have been patient, understanding, and helpful. They have helped me get to where I am today, which is accelerated math and science as a dyslexic. By my teachers' accommodations and early identifications and intervention, I was able to make a near perfect score on all 3 STAR tests. In 5th grade, I was awarded with Portrait of a Graduate. Take Flight helped me soar as a dyslexic. I am very thankful for this. Thank you for your time, for all you do to advocate for dyslexics. Have a great evening.
Okay, and we have another speaker as well. We've got 3 tonight. The next one is Robin Finema.
Y'all can pass one of each of these around. My name is Robin Finema. I'm a member of the READ Board, the parent-led advocacy group for dyslexia. I'm also the mom of 4 kids, one of which is a freshman at GHS, and he is my dyslexic. It was a winding route to how we got to GHS. Knowing that READ was in the district and leading the way in advocating students with learning disabilities, knowing the district's buy-in to the need for early identification, the use of Orton-Gillingham method, and the education of parents and GCISD staff were a few of the reasons that our family found the way back to the district. You see, we left GCISD in 3rd grade. After lots of struggles and lack of progress, my son was seen in his dyslexia intervention. After many meetings and lots of tears, both mom and kid, we were told by his 3rd grade teacher that Cole might be better off in private school. So off we went to chase down the help. We went to private schools, private tutors, homeschooling. We went to learning disability schools. They were all part of our path for the last 6 years. So what made us want to come back? I have a son that desperately wanted to be normal. All he wanted to do was be mainstream. He's an athlete, and he said he never could find his people in any of these other environments. We started looking at all the local school districts and investigating where would be a good fit. Where would he have the best chance of success? I reconnected with the READ group. They were just burgeoning when we left, and I found out all the great things that they were doing in the district. I was so anxious to hear all the things that had changed and all the good things that were going on. I think probably my favorite thing I heard was the participation of all the staff, and I think you guys have done it as well, in the dyslexia simulation event. For everybody to know what the dyslexic sees and to be able to teach from that gave me a lot of hope. But since my son's no longer in need of intervention, and he's been just through about every phonics and dyslexia curriculum out there, I needed to understand how the high schools to help him be successful. When I heard about the 504 labs, that are in the high schools and being added to most of the schools, that was really encouraging to me and him to know that he could step out of the classroom and get that help he needed. But the first 9 weeks have been rough because Cole's 504 accommodation meeting wasn't set up until October 17th. So for the first 9 weeks, he had to figure out how to do it without accommodations. He missed the PSAT test because he couldn't have his accommodation on the PSAT test. But there's a silver lining to this. I emailed the teachers, and what you have in front of you is 2 different types of notes. One is the way Cole takes notes. See, Cole can't listen and write at the same time. And so for him to take the information in verbally and write the notes himself, he can't read that, much less us read that and know what he's doing. So one of his accommodations is teachers giving him the notes in advance. And so his sports medicine teacher took it upon herself, looked at what we'd had for accommodations in prior schools, and she does this for him. She writes the notes out for him. And so for the first 9 weeks, Cole got a 95 in sports medicine. He's got accolades. She said he wrote one of the best papers she'd had in the class. So there is hope. And we're excited to be back in GCISD. He's excited to be at Mustang. We're excited to be here. But we're also want you guys to know that it doesn't stop in elementary school. We are doing a great job in the district of making sure that we're identifying the kids and that we're getting them the intervention they need. But when they get to middle school and high school, they're still dyslexic. They still have things they need, and they still need those accommodations. And what I would ask everyone to consider is that we look at ways to have those 504 accommodation meetings before school starts. That's one of the ways that Cole can be successful, and that's one of the ways that all these, up to 10% of the kids in the district that have dyslexia can be successful. I thank you for your time, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for what you're doing for our kids.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Hale Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Hale Johnson, and I just turned 10 years old. I'm a 5th grader at O.C. Taylor Elementary. I wrote to you all last month, and I wrote to say that I believe our elementary schools in GCISD start too early in the day. I researched this subject and found out 10-year-olds could sleep for 10 to 11 hours every night. I came to speak to you tonight because only some trustees replied to me, and I think this is an important topic. I want to make sure you knew about my letter. I asked my mother to tweet to Miss Elizabeth Warren and Mr. Beto O'Rourke, and my mom did. Mr. Beto O'Rourke liked our tweet, and within 2 days it had 1,000 likes and was seen by nearly 209,000 people. That is more than all the people in Grapevine, Colleyville, and Eunice combined. Dozens of people also replied that they live in different places and the school and the later start times are easier for their families. Therefore, I think you should change the school starting time. I would be very grateful. Thank you for your time and consideration. Good night.
Hale, thank you very much. That's the end of our speakers.
Thank you very much. I know that took a lot for you to come up here tonight to do that. You did a very good job. Thank you. We move on now to, yes, you did. Both of the students. I'm sorry, that's right. We have 2 students. You both.
And Mom did good too.
Well, it takes a lot for students to come to stand before adults, so they did a good job.
They were awesome.
Thank you, Jesse. At this point, we move to our public hearing. Public hearing to present the district's financial integrity rating system of Texas, the first report for 2017-2018. Dr. Ryan?
Yes, each year the Texas school districts are assigned a financial accountability rating under the first or financial integrity rating system of Texas. The district received the rating of superior for the 17-18 school year. District has received the highest rating possible for each of the last 17 years of the program has existed. Here with us tonight is Christy Drilling. Of course, our CFO, Diane Mooney, has a personal illness and couldn't join us tonight, and so Christy is here to take us through the first report.
Good evening.
I will be presenting the 2017-18 School First Rating Report. Like Dr. Ryan said, we received a superior rating, which is our 17th consecutive year of receiving it. It is also the highest rating that you can receive. First, it stands for Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. It exists due to Senate Bill 218 of the 77th Legislature. Districts are required to prepare an annual financial accountability management report and to hold a public hearing to discuss the report and first rating. There are 15 base indicators related to financial, student, and staff data. In order to receive the superior rating, you must score between a 90 and 100. There are 4 critical indicators that you must receive in order to have the superior rating. The first indicator, districts must have submitted a timely audit report. GCISD submitted within 30 days of the November 27th due date. Indicator number 2, districts must have an unmodified audit opinion and free of material weaknesses in internal controls. The district received a clean audit with no findings. Indicator number 3, districts must have compliance with all debt agreements. All debt payments were made timely. And the last, indicator 4, the districts must have timely payments to TRS and other governmental agencies. There are other indicators that are not considered critical, but we do have to look at them. They are just briefly highlighted at this point in time. You have indicator 6. Districts must have sufficient available cash and investments to cover operating costs. GCISD had $80.5 million as of June 30th, 2018. That was sufficient to cover operating expenditures for more than 90 days. Indicator 7 and 8, districts must have sufficient assets and liability ratios for short-term and long-term debt. GCISD had short-term liabilities versus assets of 3.96%. GCISD also had long-term liabilities versus assets at 78.74%. The district ratios are within the acceptable ranges. Indicator number 9, districts must have general fund revenues that are equal to or exceeded their expenditures. GCISD's revenue exceeded expenditures by $970,000 for the year ended June 30th, 2018. Indicator number 10, districts must have sufficient debt service coverage ratio. GCISD's fund balance was sufficient to make the annual debt payments. And last, indicator number 11, districts must have sufficient administrative cost ratios. GCISD's ratio was 7.65%, which is less than the state threshold of 8.55%. The annual financial accountability management report for 2017-18 with required disclosures is available to the public on the district's website. Do you have any questions?
Do we have any questions? Becky?
I just have one comment. I know Diane is the one that usually gets stuck with coming to our meetings, but you know, this is a group effort, and so I really appreciate all the hard work that finance does, because we've got a pretty good track record with these things, and we sure appreciate what y'all do over there.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Becky.
What was, I'm sorry.
That's
What
fine.
was the number of consecutive years you mentioned?
17.
17.
Wow.
I mean, that's phenomenal. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And this is a public hearing. We had no one sign up to speak. Okay. So this will close. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Christine.
So this will close our public hearing on the first report, and then move on to the reports of the superintendent with our first item A, act on the maximum size, class size exception.
Yes, of course, we have to report and work on a waiver to TEA about maximum class size when we exceed 22. Review of elementary classrooms in Grapevine, Colorado ISD found that we have one classroom that exceeds the allowed class size limit. It's at Colorado Elementary School. One third-grade classroom has exceeded the class size limit by one student. We're submitting a request for maximum class size exception in accordance with state law. Recommendations for the Board of Trustees to approve the request of maximum class size exception for one third-grade classroom at Colleyville Elementary School.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. I have a recommendation. I have a motion. Jesse?
Yes, I'd like to move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation, please.
And a second.
I'll second.
Lynn, thank you so much. A second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Threw me off.
Well, we're in a new HB3 world. I thought, you know, what the heck.
Wow. That was
That was a wow, I think. Yeah.
You already
I
had that
know.
item ready? No.
We got that on tape.
We're in
I
it.
think
That's fine. We'll see how this goes with HB3.
You did hear the question, right?
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. I'm sorry. That actually threw me off.
I know, I'm sorry. I was like, what's happening?
The ground was shaking. None opposed. All those in favor? It's 7-0.
We already voted.
Yeah, we did.
Can we vote again?
To be sure.
Pinch her.
We're all
Sure she's awake.
Yeah, you awake over there?
Yeah.
We're giving you a hard time, Becky. Thank you. We'll move on to item B. Consider authorizing the superintendent to give notice of proposed contract termination during the contract year of a term contract employee.
Yes, for this item, I'll ask our HR executive, Gemma Padgett, to approach and take us through this item.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Board of Trustees, per Dr. Josh Hamilton's request, we are conducting this in open session. We are recommending termination of Dr. Josh Hamilton for the following reasons. Number 1, violation of board policies, DH legal and local, administrative regulation enacted under board policy DH local and DH exhibit. We allege that Dr. Hamilton violated the district's electronic communication policy required by board policy, DH legal, and the electronic communication policy outlined in DH local, and administrative regulation by electronically communicating with at least one student by text messaging the student on matters outside the scope of his professional responsibilities, communicating with a single student instead of all students on a matter of professional responsibilities, not sharing the electronic communication with the campus principal or a supervisor, immediately or as soon after as possible, text messaging at least one student within and outside of permitted hours when the communications did not meet the conditions described in the administrative regulation because they did not address his professional responsibilities. Number 2, violating Texas Educator Code of Ethics in Board Policy DH Exhibit and 19 Texas Administrative Code Section 247.2 as follows. Standard 1.7, the educator shall comply with state regulations, written local school board policies, and other state and federal laws. Dr. Hamilton failed to comply with written local school board policies concerning violations of the electronic communications policies in all sections outlined below in the Educator's Code of Ethics. Standard 3.1, the educator shall not reveal confidential information concerning students unless disclosure serves lawful professional purposes or is required by law. Dr. Hamilton discussed personally identifiable student information about other students with at least one student in violation of this standard. Standard 3.8, the educator shall maintain appropriate professional educator-student relationships and boundaries based on a reasonably prudent educator standard. Dr. Hamilton violated this standard by developing inappropriate relationships with students, providing inappropriate information to the students concerning his personal life through text messages, treating students as family members or close friends, and providing inappropriate personal information to the students, and developing inappropriate relationships or boundaries with the students. Standard 3.9,
The educator shall refrain from inappropriate communication with a student or minor, including but not limited to electronic communication, as cell phone, text messaging, email, instant messaging, blogging, or other social network communication. Factors that may be considered in assessing whether the communication is inappropriate include, but is not limited to, the nature, purpose, timing, and the amount of the communication, the subject matter of the communication, and whether the communication was made openly or the educator attempted to conceal the communication. Dr. Hamilton violated this standard by inappropriate communications with a student by text messaging or other forms of messaging which contained inappropriate content for a teacher-student relationship, contained personally identifiable information, and other students beside the student Josh was communicating with. Communication was made without notice to his supervisors or other educators as required by board policy, and contained information concerning his marriage, his dating relationships, and other confidential personal information unnecessary for the proper teacher-student relationship. He further communicated with the student in violation of the directives given to him on September 6, 2019, and in that communication offered to coach a student after school, even though he was no longer responsible for coaching that district student because he was on administrative leave. And our third reason is insubordination or failure to follow written directives. Dr. Hamilton was placed on administrative leave with pay on September 6, 2019. At that time, he was directed to have no contact with any Grapevine Colleyville ISD student. However, on the evening of September 9th, he called a student, told him he was not returning to Grapevine High School, and told him that he could still coach him after school. Such communications were in violation of the directives given to Dr. Hamilton in the letter of administrative leave on September 6, 2019. And it's for those reasons listed that the administration is asking that the board authorize the superintendent to give written notice to Josh Hamilton of the proposal to terminate his term contract with the district for good cause during the contract year and the proposed grounds for the contract termination.
Thank you very much. I need a motion for this agenda item. Louis?
I'll make a motion that I move that the board authorize the superintendent to give written notice to Dr. Josh Hamilton of the proposal to terminate his term contract with the district for good cause during the contract year and the proposed grounds for the contract termination.
Thank you, Louis. I need a second.
Second.
Becky, second. Do I have any discussion?
I do. I want to be clear what we're authorizing, and that's we're authorizing Dr. Ryan to make a personnel decision based on the charges that have been levied, the charges, and if any appeals, things like that would come before the board, we would hear at a later date, where we would have all the details.
Yes, this is simply to give Dr. Ryan the authority to come to in the termination, to terminate. Right. That's the only thing.
I just wanted to
that's all that's
be
before
clear
us.
what is before.
Tom, do you need to clarify anything? All this really does is begin a process.
Right.
The teacher can request a formal hearing with the Texas Education Agency concerning a proposal. If that hearing is held, the hearing examiner returns findings of fact and conclusions of law to this board, for the board to take final action on. It doesn't authorize Dr. Ryan to terminate without due process. It only allows the process to begin. It's not a final termination decision at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Only to begin the process. That's the only thing before us. That's the only thing before us at this time.
Because in the motion, it says to give written notice.
Right.
Written notice to Josh Hamilton.
Any
That's the
other,
motion.
any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jim.
Move on to item C, act on appropriation of undesignated 2011 bond funds to purchase new 77 passenger school buses, reimburse the bond fund with the tax exempt grant funding, and authorize a district representative to sign the grant contract. Dr. Ryan?
Yes, this is a good opportunity for the district to take advantage of some grant money from the Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust Agreement from several years ago, and so I'll ask Paula to take us through this item.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ryan. And your page 42 was replaced, so I want to make sure that you have that there at the desk for a minor wording edit. That edit is to clarify a portion about the retired vehicles, so I'll get to that in just a moment. So as Dr. Ryan mentioned, there is the opportunity for the school district to participate in a grant that would provide up to 64% of the cost of a brand-new school bus, which is a significant amount, as you can well imagine, and not something that we have ever seen in the past in terms of grants. Through this particular grant, 4 of our 2004 school buses, which are already 15 years old, are eligible for this amount of reimbursement. Newer vehicles would not be eligible for that amount. And so the recommendation here is to consider the purchase of 4 new 77 passenger school buses at an approximate cost of $114,500 each, which would replace the 4 2004 school buses. And one of the requirements of the grant, because of the EPA mitigation efforts, is that we must render the retired vehicles inoperable. That's usually as simple as drilling through that motor or taking other steps which are not significantly expensive, but doing that so that they cannot be operated and utilized. So as you know, we have already replaced the school buses that were called out in the 2016 bond, but when you see an opportunity to buy 4 brand new school buses for less than $200,000, and the actual price tag by itself is almost $500,000, that's a heck of a deal, as they say, and so that was the reason that we felt like we should bring this opportunity forward for your consideration.
Thank you, Paula. The recommendations for the Board of Trustees to approve the appropriation of $458,000 from undesignated 2011 bond funds to purchase 4 new 77 passenger school buses, reimburse the bond fund $295,200 when the tax exempt grant is received, and approve the Chief Operations Officer to sign the grant contract.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Do I have a motion for the recommendation?
I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you, Doug. I have a second. Mindy, thank you. Discussion?
Seems like a heck of a deal.
Can you do more?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Move on to item D, act on changes to board policy EIA local, the grading and progress reports to the parents.
This is an opportunity to align our practice and our policy, and so I'll turn it over to Dr. Schnauz for a brief explanation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Trustees, for your consideration tonight are the proposed revisions to EIA local, which are in response to the policy audit that was conducted this past summer. And so, just like Dr. Ryan said, we're aligning our policy with our practices. And these proposed revisions include the following: provide wording to reflect our current practice of making electronic grade reports available in the student management system for parents to view. They change the section titles to reflect the terms we use to refer to progress reports during the grading period and report cards at the end of the grading period. They replace letter with email as a means of communication. In regards to the K-4 update to reflect standards-based grading report card practices, as we transition from grade averages to standards-based report cards in grades K through 4, the wording previously stated as, in quotes, grade lower than 70, no longer match current standards-based practices. The new wording better communicates the goal of basing promotion or retention on a student's consistent ability to demonstrate the critical knowledge and skills of each grade. And so, again, to really summarize this, it just aligns our policy with our practice and standards-based report cards. So.
Thank you, Dr. Schnauz. The recommendations for the Board of Trustees to approve the revisions to board policy EIA local.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve Dr. Ryan's recommendation.
Thank you, Mindy. A second? Becky, second. Any discussion?
Parent doesn't have email, would they still be getting a letter?
yeah, we will find a way to communicate with that parent.
Okay, I know it says phone and
Yes, sir.
other items. I just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
not excluding that way
it's-
of contacting them if we don't have another way.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Did I see somebody over here with a question?
Yeah,
Joseph?
as a matter of fact, that was my question. I noticed that under teacher responsibility, we listed email, but then in the section that we've added, it just says preferably by personal conference or telephone call. It doesn't reference email, so I guess I just wanted to, for consistency's sake or clarification.
Yeah, where are you looking? I'm looking on page 48 with the proposed revision in blue.
Yeah,
At the
and
bottom.
then I'm looking at, in 48, it says under teacher responsibility.
Yes, sir.
We've deleted letters and it says email. You see that?
Progress
In blue?
reports, personal phone calls, yes, sir, email and conferences.
Right, and then in the blue section on the next page, on 49, it just says, "The teacher shall inform the parent or guardian prior to the parent receiving an official grade report, preferably by personal conference or telephone call." And it doesn't say email, and I'm just,
It looks like it's
I'm just saying
saying,
it leaves the wording out, so I'm just saying, are we saying to just leave it out, or does it matter?
it looks to me, Brad, that this is set up so that the phone call or personal conference is triggered if the student is not on track to master.
No, I understand
that
that, I'm
correct?
just saying, I just wanna make sure that.
I would prefer it to be a personal contact if it's that
I know,
situation.
I'm just saying that, but I'm just asking for clarification, because I noticed that in the top section under teacher responsibility, we deleted letters and we said email. And then it doesn't reference email on the other at all, so I'm just asking, just clarification for me.
Yeah, well, and I think I see what you're saying now, Becky, in that, yes, if a student is struggling, then our goal is to have a face-to-face, and set up that personal conference via telephone call or however we can get the family up.
Okay, all right, well, yeah, I was just a little confused, but okay. I mean, if everyone else is comfortable with it, that's fine.
I read it as they're gonna contact them one way or the other.
The
Be
way
it-
I read this
Well-
is that you want to have intervention, and intervention's not through an email. It says through a personal
Personal
conference
No,
or telephone call, so therefore you're having a verbal conversation, and where a letter, snail mail, email is quicker, but what the end result is to have a personal one-on-one interaction with the parent. And so I'm fine with the wording of it by saying preferably, Red Ribbon Week, right?
I got that out.
By personal conference or telephone call. Where's the commended national merits of
I
there?
tell
They
you,
can read
they
this.
sucked all of the intelligence out of the room.
They've got like 3 kid speakers that can do better than
Yeah,
we
what's the
can.
fifth grader? Smarter than a fifth grader?
Yeah, I think we're chasing squirrels here.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning what we're saying, I just wanted for this, in my own mind, the clarification is that under teacher responsibility, we deleted letters and put the word email in. And then on the blue section, on the next page, it just says preferably by a personal call or,
Well, I
and it
think-
doesn't reference email, that's all.
Yes, sir.
I'm not questioning why we're doing one versus the other, I'm just,
The intent, I think the motive is for email to be the fallback, for the
Okay.
primary means to be that personal touch. And
Gotcha.
so,
Okay.
yes, we want to reach out by telephone, and the goal is to get the family, the parents up there where we can have a face-to-face and develop that intervention plan to help that child be successful. And then the fallback is if we can't have that personal touch, and fall back with an email. But again, we revert back to the primary source being that phone call or face-to-face again.
face-to-face,
Yes, sir.
gotcha. Okay, all right, I just needed clarification, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We good?
Yeah.
Any other questions? None? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Move on to item E, approve the 2019-2020 District Emergency Operations Plan.
So yes, we, each year we have to approve the Emergency Operations Plan, and safety and security and emergency operations and GCISD is always at the top of our list. The board was privy to some confidential information about this plan in executive session. However, the full Emergency Operations Plan must be considered here in open session. And so I see Alan Smith, who is prepared to give us a little bit of some information about what's included in the district's emergency operations plan, as well as some other items that we have been very proud of that we've developed with safety and security at our schools over the last several years. Alan.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here tonight, and thank you for already listening to our plan earlier in executive session. Ms. Barbaro and myself will be kind of tag teaming this particular portion of the event, but we wanted to make sure that y'all were aware of some things as we talk through safety and security here in our district, that we recognize that we do well. And we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to share those points with you, as well as making sure that we went through the plan with you earlier tonight. So as we look at...
Alan, I'm going to
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
you to bring the presentation up first and close that one out. And while he's doing that,
Yes, ma'am.
let me just go ahead and add this. As you know, tonight's agenda item is to approve the emergency operations plan, which you do annually. And I do want to point out that it's the all hazard in nature plan. It addresses all of the responsibilities that individuals have for carrying out our plan and maintaining our continuity of operations. And on page 51 of your packet, we have outlined those things that have changed from last year's plan to this year's plan. So I want to make sure that those are duly noted and identified. And one key element for this current year is that in accordance with Senate Bill 11, this plan was reviewed by the GCISD Safety and Security Committee prior to bringing it to the board for its review and approval. As Dr. Ryan mentioned, you did get a deeper debrief in the executive session, as is appropriate. And so from that, I think you're all aware of the governor's task force that was brought together last year, and obviously some of that resulted in Senate Bill 11, which I just alluded to. They took a look at a variety of issues with respect to school districts across the state, and really those recommendations, whether they were recommendations or requirements of Senate Bill 11, were directions also to school districts to implement safety, security, as well as mental health best practices. The very good news that I want to share with you is that GCISD was already doing those things that were being recommended. Those things have already been in place in our school district. And so what Alan and I wanted to do, and if you'll, actually I think I can hit it from here, is there is a very long list of things that we do in GCISD under the heading of safety and security. We've broken this down into 3 primary categories. Alan's going to go over a couple of those, and I'm going to touch on one of those. If you think about physical barriers and procedural safeguards, that's one of the categories that we've highlighted with all the things that we do in GCISD. Another one has to do with preparedness. That is the emergency operations plan, thinking through all of the various threats or hazards that may exist and having an idea and a plan for how you're going to do that, who's going to take care of what will be communicated, all the logistical pieces, what local agencies will you bring in to assist the district in addressing whatever emergencies in place. And the third being probably one of the most important, which is school culture. So we're going to only go through highlights here because we'd be here for a long time tonight just sitting here going through a list of things. But it's here for anyone who is interested. We'll share this information on the district's website as well. And so what Alan and I are going to do is really touch on the highlights, which you'll see kind of in red in terms of those bullet points. So I'm going to let him begin here with the physical barriers and procedural safeguards that we have in GCISD.
We know how important physical barriers, all of our procedures are that we have in place. And when we just think about the things that we do every day here in GCISD, we came up with these points. As you know, when you go to visit a campus, our doors are locked when you get there already. And so we operate in a state basically of lockout, which is one of our standard response protocols. And you have to be authorized to be in the building, either with a card or by being allowed and buzzed in by the staff there. As we scroll on down in the colored points there, we see that controlled vestibules are something that we've really focused on. We're continuing with our building projects that are ongoing, and we will continue to make all of our schools have controlled vestibule access. That controlled vestibule will be seen in a few different ways, including things such as our new video intercoms at these doors, and we'll be continuing to make sure that the improvements are issued there that are approved in the construction projects, and then back to retrofit those that have controlled vestibules to make sure that they have the same things. Our visitor management procedure and plan It has been in place for a long time. Another thing that was recommended by our governor and asked in Senate Bill 11 to make sure that we had that. Well, we've had that for many years, and so we conduct checks when people come to visit our campus, and we educate our staff on how to make sure that those the right people are allowed in or not allowed in. Interior classroom doors have been outfitted now with hardware that really maintains a fire-rated corridor, which means that they're able to lock their classrooms and make it easy to lock from the inside. This was a very important feature, and when I train with teachers and when I talk with people all over the district, it's a scary thing to think about having to go into the hallway to execute a key lock to be able to lock the door. And so this ease of locking the doors in the classrooms now makes it easier for teachers to teach behind a locked door, which is a cultural thing that I'm trying to make sure that we're doing every day, and how important that is for statistics based on what we're seeing as far as violence in schools. Our PA systems are being upgraded and speakers are being added to the exterior of schools. It's very important for an announcement that's made inside the school to be heard by anyone that's outside. It may direct them with what they need to do, which is either return inside the building or immediately leave the area, depending on what the situation may be. And so those announcements can be heard outside. One exciting thing is, as of last year, and we got it all installed, is a GPS, a global positioning system on our buses. And that works in conjunction with an app called Here Comes the Bus, where parents know when the bus is arriving, they know where it's arriving at the bus stop and what time. And it really gives them a sense of security and ease to be able to know I can be there when the bus is going to be there, rather than my kid departing the bus and maybe standing on the corner or not having somebody there to greet them. And that's the app called Here Comes the Bus. So the second part Ms. Barbara is going to look at here in the emergency operations planning and tools.
So the highlights here are really about the governor's recommendation that school districts be prepared. As I alluded to, something that we've been doing in GCISD for a long time. We take this very seriously. And so the highlights here are that in GCISD, all of the specific threats or hazards that might exist have been identified, and they've been in our plans for a while, and people have worked together, not just within the district, but all stakeholders within the district. And again, I mentioned local responders being a part of the agencies that come through and consult with Alan and others here in the district to put that plan in place and to know how it is that we're going to handle things. And every situation is unique. But when you have spent the time thinking through various scenarios, you're far better prepared to handle them when they do occur. So that is a piece that's in there. We enjoy a very strong relationship and communication with our fire, police, and our emergency management responders here in the cities, all three cities. I want to make very clear that Euless is an equal and integral partner in this for the one campus that we have down in that corner. They're present, they attend, they talk, they're in frequent communication with Alan about those things. And obviously every campus has their own emergency plan that stems from the district plan, and they go through that, and they have their various layers of individuals with specific tasks and responsibilities, just like we do at the district level. As you know, we use standard response protocol. We've been doing that for years. It was very affirming for the governor's office basically to come out in Senate Bill 11 and say this is what school districts should be using in order to train teachers and staff, students and staff on how to respond. It's much easier to remember 5 to 6 things to do for any event or scenario than to think that anybody's going to pull out a big heavy notebook and follow some task list of procedures to deal with an emergency. That's not how it works. This is a practical application of what to do in the case of an emergency, and that's something we've been using. We have added one more item, which was clear the classroom. That's relatively new. This is something that's probably going to become much more common across the country, not just in the state of Texas. There are some particular scenarios where you may have a need to actually remove students from a classroom because of something that is taking place in that classroom, and they simply don't need to be a part of that. It could be for something as simple as a medical emergency that needs to be taken care of right there in the room, and we don't need everybody else in the way or involved with witnessing that. As you know, we've been training substitute teachers in SRP, and Alan does a wonderful job explaining to those substitute teachers what their role is. They're provided with a buddy so that they know who to lean on if an emergency should take place when they're in our buildings. This way they're prepared regardless of what building they go to know exactly what it is that we do in GCISD. You know that we do a lot of drills. We do a lot of them at the beginning of the year, and that sounds like a lot, and it is. But if you're going to have an emergency, you need to be prepared, and so you've got to get ready in the first two weeks of school, basically. That's about the maximum amount of time we feel like we can go before some of those things are practiced by our students and our staff. And one of the last items I'm going to mention here is Code GCISD, which is an emergency management tool for us at the district level, where we have the ability in an integrated system when we're in the command center and it's up on the huge screens to be able to see what's going on. Site maps are present, live video camera feed is present for that. We're able to identify and see where it is that our students and staff are in the building. And that's a real-time ability, which is a big deal if you think about it, because if we had a need to communicate with a certain segment of our population, take a big high school, and I remember kind of the things that were happening in Santa Fe. If you have a west side of the school that might be able to leave the premises while something is taking place on the east side of the school, wouldn't you like to be able to send that type of communication and maybe get those people to safety? So this gives us that ability to do that in our command center as we're watching and dealing with emergencies. That dashboard allows us to communicate, as I just mentioned to you, and here in the near future, visitors to our campuses. Some of the people that we can't practice with, because you might be new to one of our campuses today for the very first time. If you enroll on our network, this is coming out very soon. If you enroll in our network, you're wanting to use our Wi-Fi, you will have the ability to basically be connected to us. And if an emergency should arise while you're in our building, we can send you a communication with the standard response protocol so that you know what everybody else is doing in the building as well, and you'll know how to take care of yourself individually as you're there as a visitor. And then an app that's also a part of this that's going to allow every staff member in our school district to have the ability to initiate an emergency if from anywhere on campus or at a GCISD school building. So now we have approximately 1,900 eyes across the school district and people with an ability to initiate an emergency. It doesn't have to be somebody who then gets on a walkie-talkie or on a phone to call somebody to then hit a button somewhere in an office. It's all about saving time and moments and seconds, and that's what this dashboard gives us the ability to do. And so from there, we'll talk about school culture, which is probably one of the most important things that we can do in our schools with our students and staff, and I'll let Alan take over.
We have such a wonderful staff all over the district that really spends a lot of time making sure that our culture is about safety and security, that our culture is about taking care of one another. And I get an opportunity every time I stand in front of a group of parents or a group of stakeholders in our district to explain just how important it is to build that culture. And I'm so thankful that our staff does that all over the district and just really touches people that I won't ever be able to meet with. And they do a great job at that every day. One of the things, we talked about last year was our app that's put on everybody's device, every student's device. And so I was checking with Mrs. Hill this year. So far we've had about 15 reports across See Something, Say Something this year. Last year our reports ended with about 70. I think it was about 68 to 70, somewhere in that. And so that's a huge deal for us. And it's everything from someone in crisis to criminal reports of drugs or something on campus that's going wrong, to bullying, to threats, and all sorts of things that come in. And so that's really helped us as we've instituted that last year and really got that rolled out. And I just envision that continuing to be a very important part of how our folks communicate and how they get the message across if they are in trouble. You see there on the next bullet on the next column that police officers are contributing to campus culture through their presence. They come and eat lunch. They're getting to know staff. I'm just excited. Every year we have the beginning of school, and you all were out and you saw our police officers out really contacting kids and high-fiving on the first day. Well, they're continuing that throughout the school year, and our police chiefs have been so faithful to make sure that they've reached their entire staff. It's not just the men and women that are on patrol that are out every day that can come by, but they're assigning detectives and traffic officers and other folks that are employed at the police departments to come by, assign them a school, make this your school, and come by on a regular trip. Stop in. I see pictures on the internet at Grapevine PD and Colleyville, for that matter. Captain Hudson is always in reading books over at Cannon Elementary, and Chief Miller shows up at every campus in Colleyville. And we have so many great officers that come down to Bear Creek every day and just stop in and say hi or eat lunch. And so that culture being built, that kids can trust their officers, that they know that they can come to them if there's a problem, and the culture that's being built between GCISD and the police departments is just another wonderful culture thing. In the area of mental health strategies and programs, another thing recommended by the governor, we already do so many of these things, and I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of them that you see on your slide there. Restorative Practices is a program that helps students that may have been in trouble reintegrate back into the classroom. And it's so important that they come back in with the right attitude and that everyone receives them with the right attitude. And so restorative practices are worked on very hard by our counselors and our teachers and our teams on campus. Threat assessments are being processed at all grade levels. This is a recommendation by the governor. We really got this rolling last year, but it's something that we've been faithful to do every time we have an instance where we need this. And Hope Squad's another thing that our counseling department has rolled out, a program where students are really trained to recognize if there's a problem with their friend. And so Ms. Barbara mentioned having our employees really being our eyes and our ears out there in the district, but imagine that every student can now look at a peer and say, is there a problem? And they feel confident asking them, and they know how to say, let's go get you some help, or let's tell an adult, or I need to talk to your parents, or whatever the answer to that may be. And so the Hope Squad is really a great thing that's going to help us develop that culture of caring and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to be included, as well as to be just make sure that they have a great history here at GCISD. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a lengthy presentation, but it's also demonstrative of how much is happening with regard to safety and security. It's everyone's responsibility, and we feel like that everyone in GCISD is working toward that. The recommendation is for the Board of Trustees to approve the district's emergency operations plan with the listed updates above, additions, and authorize the district to continue implementation of the plan.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Do I have a motion for the recommendation? Jesse?
Yes, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation, please.
Thank you, Jesse. In a second. Dad, thank you very much. At this point, do we have any questions?
Alan, do you know how many officers come and have lunch at the schools?
You know, the wonderful thing about us having those ability for them to come and do that, last year we documented over 100 visits all over the district. And what I'm trying to do is to make sure every month or so I'm sending an email out to our chiefs saying, remember, come by and have some lunch. And they love to get in the lunchroom and help the kids. It's more impressive to me that they're all now stopping by and kind of getting in the classrooms, stopping by and talking to teachers, reading books to the little ones, shaking hands and high-fiving. And it's a broader culture than just the lunch, but they're taking advantage of it.
Well, that's great. They're going through the lunch line, sitting down at the tables with the kids.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Do the volunteer, like the VIPs, volunteers that help the police departments? It's called VIPs in Grapevine. Are they invited as well?
So I've not actually formally extended it, but they're usually out and about in uniform, and that's something that I can shoot over to the chiefs and just say, hey, make sure if you got volunteers that are out in uniform, we'd love to have them park that car up there and come on in as well.
Yeah.
Great idea.
All right, well, thank you. And I just want to say I'm very appreciative of your efforts. I'm glad we have professionals taking community input, but professionals developing the plans.
Yes.
It's important because you know a lot more than the average Joe.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to say I think one of the possibly most important bullets up there is that I guess the first one up there under school culture, because all the physical barriers we can create, hopefully we never have to use them. The culture is the important part to make sure that we are taking care of our students, and we've got low teacher-to-student ratios so that the teachers can put eyes on the students and have relationships with them so they know what's going on in their lives.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Becky?
I just had a comment. So I know, Alan, that you and Paula and the rest of your team have been working with council PTAs and getting on campuses and talking to parents. And I really appreciate the work that y'all are doing, especially because that's often in the evenings. And I know parents are giving up their time, but you guys are giving up your time as well. And it's important work. And I appreciate the fact that y'all are getting out there and getting this information communicated to our public. So those events should really be standing room only.
Yes.
But thank you for what you're doing on that end of things.
More to follow. Thank you.
It is a roadshow. It's Alan's roadshow.
Right.
Well,
Any
Paula
other-
gave a great presentation at the
Well, she did. I'm sorry.
PTA Council this past
Yeah.
week, too.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions for them? Anyone? Thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you,
Thank y'all.
Paula. That is it for our action items. Remainder information only. Move on to item F, review the summer school programs.
So first item, of course, is summer school, and we've got some exciting things that have happened in summer school. We want to be able to talk to you about them. I'll turn it over to Dr. Schnauz for an introduction.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. So tonight we'll hear from our summer school programs team regarding the progress and the highlights from this summer's programs. We had quite a few programs going on this summer, from our summer enrichment opportunities to our Kids U summer activities. Obviously, our STAR and EOC remediation opportunities. We have our acceleration, our accelerated courses, those opportunities for our kids to accelerate their progress. And then one of the things we're most excited about is this summer kicked off our Dream Camp, which some of you participated in that and kind of the visioning process, and how could we create a customized, unique experience for some of our learners across the district. And here tonight, I think, to talk about that is Lisa Brown and Daniela Flores to just talk about our inaugural Dream Camp. But nonetheless, I'll turn it over to Anita Clayton, our Director of Student Services, to kick us off. Thank you, Anita.
Thanks, Brad, and thank you for letting us kind of brag a little bit. I've asked my team to come up with me because I am so proud of the work that this group does. Their work has already started for next year, so it's not like the last day of school they go to work. No, it's an all-year process, so I'm very proud of them, and they work extremely hard. Let me introduce them to you. For Kids U, we have Megan Scarborough. Dream Camp, which was our new camp this year, we have Lisa Brown and Danielle Alvarez. Star Academy, we have Mia Magana, who is at home with a brand new baby. Summer Enrichment, we have Cindy Felker. And our secondary summer school, we have Jeff Mishu and Ted Willman. Now, there are some state and federal mandated programs that we have to do, and I talk about these every year. But we need to do the EOC tutorials, the STAR tutorials, and the ESL pre-K and kindergarten program. In the past, we've always incorporated the Language Academy with that ESL and pre-K kindergarten, but this is where we kind of changed it up this year and included the Dream Camp. District Choice, these are the things that we offer by our choice. And we feel that they're very successful, and that's what these people are doing on a daily basis. Let's visit first about our secondary summer school. Jeff and Ted work extremely hard, and with their counselor, Leanne Ferris, she really gets in there too. This is just a little synopsis of what takes place during summer school. I'm not going to read it to you. But I just do kind of want to highlight that we had 397 students enrolled. That was a little bit lower than we've had in the past, but I feel with the extra classes that have been added to the high school, students are more able to get programs in, which is a good thing for them. But we have had a lot of out-of-district students still attend, the 15 kids with 26 courses, so that's good. And then we see how many of our own children in our district actually participated in our program. This is the STAR EOC. This is the percentage of students who met approaching, and the percentage that we had. We had Algebra 1, Biology, English 1, English 2, and U.S. History. A big celebration on June 26th was when we graduated 11 students. That was a really big group for us during the summer, and it was fun that we got to have it at PDEC. They actually got to walk across the stage and shake many of your hands, so it was really exciting for them. In our 5th and 8th grade STAR, and we have to do a STAR tutorial, and that's for reading and for math. And the way I've presented it is I wanted to show you how many tested during the first administration in the spring, the second administration, and then the third, and show you the percentages of the students who reached approaching. So this is for our 5th grade reading. This was for 5th grade math. We did the same with our 8th grade reading, and then our 8th grade math. Now for the excitement. I'm so excited about this program, but I'm not nearly as excited as the 2 women who developed it and got it going. And so I would like for them to come up and just kind of give you a little insight into what they did.
Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you guys tonight. I'm Lisa Brown, the assistant principal at Cannon.
And I'm Daniela Alvarez, assistant principal at Timberline Elementary.
We were given the task of to redesign and rebrand what was the former Language Academy. And as a 25-year employee, the opportunity to make my dream school, we decided to call it Dream Camp. And as a classroom teacher, when you look at the students and see why are our students still needing extra help? What do we have to do to move them? It all comes down to we need to give them the most personalized way of learning in small groups. So we designed the camp by inviting staff members to come and apply to be a teacher there by capitalizing on their strengths. Because we want the best teachers that can self-identify what they do best with students for us to help make that move for the students. So we had the best problem starting out is because we had 53 teachers from GCISD come to our meeting, and out of that, 41 submitted video interviews to us to be hired. We were able to hire 24 to teach in our morning academic session and 11 for our afternoon enrichment session. Our design is to do something that we can't do during the normal school year, and that is to provide small group instruction. So if you have math for an hour and a half a day, we decided to do 45 minutes of that small group instruction, maximum of 6 students. And then whole group instruction for like an 16 to 18 ratio for the other 45 minutes. We did the same thing with our language arts. 5 days a week, 45 minutes of math instruction in a small group, 45 minutes of reading instruction in a small group. And then we decided all of the other students across Tarrant County go do fun things all summer, right? Mm. Our students deserve that too. We also had community input that we need a program that covers it all because of working parents. Mm. So we added our own enrichment piece, not to be confused with Cindy Felker's enrichment that they do, but we brought enrichment to our students who were spending their mornings in academic rigor. So, for example, we brought in drama classes, dance classes, art classes, Harry Potter, and we even paired up with Boeing to have the 50th landing of Apollo on the moon and had a Rocket Day celebration. So we have big dreams for what to do with that enrichment, but it was really just a great social, emotional time. The kids could pick to go to 3 things. One was a physical activity, and the other 2 were, we're trying to get more student choice with it. So at one point, they were able to prioritize. And then the burning question I know you just want to know is, how did the students get chosen to go into this program? Well, what we did is we used our district data from our Universal screeners. Thank you. I almost got without making a mistake. Our universal screeners, we did our reading and our math, which in the past has been iStation. And then we took, we also on district with our curriculum department, we do our elementary does DRAs, which is developmental reading assessments that are very thorough, which also piggybacks with word analysis task, that there's many tests that go with that to help us see where the students are breaking down with phonemic awareness, so we can plug those in. And once we got all of those, we kind of gave them points for each one. Also depended on the campus when they do response to intervention, and they tier students that have difficulties in some areas. That was one of our criteria too. So then we added up all of those points, and then we just started selecting students from there. This year we were able to service kindergarten through 4th grade, and I think that's all. I'm going to turn it over to Daniela.
So to tell you a little bit about our staffing, as we mentioned, the pre-K and kinder ESL, that's a state mandated program. So you can see we had 32 ESL students who were divided between pre-K, kinder, and then a small group teacher. So we had 3 teachers there. And then for our dual language students, we had 5 teachers. We had 53 students. And when they had that small group pull out, they were able to get small group intervention in math and reading as well at that young age. For our, now this says ESL band, but I don't want you to think that all the students here were ESL students. That was actually one of the new things about Dream Camp, that we got to invite monolingual students for the first time. For many years, our teachers had been asking us, what about the monolingual students? Do they get to go to a summer school? So it says ESL, but it includes both. And in the 1st and 2nd grade band, we had about 50 students, and that rotated between 6 teachers. And the 3-4 band had about 28 students. The great thing about this was that students were given the opportunity to work with multiple different teachers. So each teacher was able to find the strengths in each child and develop a really good relationship with those kiddos. Our biggest group was our 1st through 4th dual language group. So we had 56 students in that. We had 6 teachers, 3 who taught in English and 3 who taught in Spanish to mimic the 50-50 dual language program that we have during the school year. And the cool thing about this program was, with it being 1st through 4th band for this group, we were able to really place the kids where they needed to be. So maybe they were a 3rd grader, but they were working on 2nd grade skills, and we were able to make that determination. We got lots of data from our Dream Camp this summer, maybe too much data. As you see on your screen, we have everything that our teachers did for reading and everything that our teachers did for math. For math, we really focused on numeracy, problem solving. Are our kids fluent with their math facts? And for reading, we really focused on letter sound ID, those things that are really important for our pre-K and kindergarten students, and then lots of guided reading groups that we know that's where our kids make the most progress, so we focused a lot on that. But no one can talk about it better than our kiddos, so we have just a few really short videos for you guys. Maybe. We hope. There it goes.
Sorry, we have to log in.
You know, you type it in wrong when everybody's watching you.
Can I jump in with a question real quick while you're
Yes.
logging in?
Yes.
Just want to clarify intervention. When we talk about intervention, we're talking about some of our struggling learners.
Absolutely.
To help them get back to on grade level or to catch up with what they need.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I learned and my numbers and my letters in GK.
So that's, of course, one of our kindergarten kiddos. Sorry.
been to summer school and I've been to summer school, and the difference of Dream Camp is that I had a math class, and I had a class that math class cooked, and one day I cooked s'mores.
That was one of our most popular classes, food-based learning.
Sounds like a field trip opportunity for us.
Yeah. Just one last one.
Okay, what I'm going to talk about is Dream Camp. At first, we get to go in a big group at the beginning, and then we get to go in small groups. And what I liked was, like, right now I'm in 3rd grade, and last year when I was at Dream Camp, I get to see my teachers over the school year, Miss Christie and Miss Butler. I like them. And right there, thumbs up. And I like to go to the music class because we get to we get to do like music video plays, like not really real musicals, but it was really fun and we like to watch videos. And that's all. Bye.
That is one of the best endorsements there is, right there. And then the thumbs up to the teacher.
That's cool.
Okay, so that's our dream camp, and we were really excited about it, and we are already talking about planning next year, and we have some even greater ideas that we want to put forth. Next we had, thanks ladies, next we had summer enrichment, and I know the pictures might be kind of hard to see, but the first picture of roller coasters that our young engineers developed, and the second picture, and I hope I can say this correctly, sheep-tastic cupcakes. I did it. I don't know about you, but they look kind of yummy. I think I would have liked to have been there that day. Summer enrichment is a busy, busy time. If you've never had the opportunity to go and visit, I strongly encourage you to, because the kids are so excited. They can't wait to get there. They can't wait to go to the classes. They like it so much that we had 1,579 students attending, and we were able to offer 287 classes. Now that's our teachers coming up with their own lesson plans, their own ideas, and it's very fun and creative, and they love it, and the teachers love it too. Next we have Kids U. Kids U is typically always right with enrichment because they do a lot of the sharing of the caring of the kids. And I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, herding cats. Well, that's kind of what it's like at Kids U, but it's so fun, and Megan is doing a marvelous job with the kids. They're in and out. Full-time, we had 1,400 students. That's great. And we also had early care, late care, PM wrap, and AM wrap. So kids are coming and going, and they're signing up for summer enrichment, and then their parents are allowing them to stay for Kids U. These kids are having fun from the minute they get there till the time their parents come and pick them up. So it's really fabulous. Now we get to talk about money. Our approved budget for our summer programs is $668,824. Our expenditures were $607,576. So we had a surplus of $61,248. So I think we're right on track, doing a good job with that. We have already planned for next year. As you can see, we're going to be at Grapevine High School, Timberline, and Cross Timbers. So we kind of like it being more in the center there, because we feel like it is more of a localized meeting spot for everybody across the whole district. And does anyone have any questions?
Sorry. Do we have any questions? Becky?
I do. So to explain a little bit more about Dream Camp, so previously the language work that we were doing over the summer, that was just a half day, right?
Correct.
And so now you're still keeping the half day component with the added addition. And I think I hear what you're saying, if the parents are making the effort to get the kid up there for the half day, it's been a hardship for them to have to come pick them up at midday, and so now this additional piece.
And plus, we wanted to encourage the kids to come because of the fun things that they were
Sure,
going to
right,
do in the
yeah.
afternoon.
Right,
And I
right.
think it was really successful that way.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. So do you think, I mean, you mentioned that there's criteria for kids to come to the camp. They have to, so I guess kind of a couple of ways to word this question. Are there kids out there that we're missing then because we don't have enough space or teachers, or what in a dream world, what would you see us expanding on or doing differently next year?
Well, we really looked at the tier levels of
Oh,
the
okay,
students who
okay.
truly needed the type of work that they were doing. And so we were looking at mainly tier 3 and additionally some tier 2 students that really needed that one-on-one. We don't want to make it too large.
Right, yeah.
Because not
You'll
all the
lose-
students need that in-depth intervention. So I'm thinking we're going to probably keep it. And what was really interesting, and we didn't even plan it this way, we had just about the same number of kids for Language Academy that we did for Dream Camp.
Okay.
So
Are you, going back to the children, the ones in the different tiers, are you tracking them? Are we looking at any data to see how their progression, prior going into the enrichment and the Dream Camp to what their progression is the next year when they go into the, like if they're going from 3rd to 4th grade or 2nd to 3rd grade?
Right, well, we're always looking at their data throughout all the years. The teachers last year, at Dream Camp, have their own individual data that they kept on each child. And so we are using that to monitor their growth through the year, and then again next year if they're invited to Dream Camp again.
And do you know off the top of your head what our repeat invitation is? Like if we had them last summer, like are you 50% students coming through it again? Or is
Well, it all depends on the criteria,
Right.
if they meet the criteria. Hopefully, they've gotten, and Dream Camp lasted longer
Right.
than any program we've ever had before like this. So hopefully, that extra time and days that we put into it, that maybe it put them up a little bit. We don't know yet because we haven't looked at the data, how they're doing this year, but I guarantee you, we've already started the planning process, and that's what we'll be looking at.
Well, I gotta commend you from the standpoint of like the math and the fun, that it is fun. Because my daughter did 6th grade bridge math and science this summer. She's one of those 70 students and was doing fantastic in 7th grade, the bridge classes. And she had fun. They did the s'mores in her math class.
All right.
You know, you're making it fun for everybody. So what y'all are doing is phenomenal. I know you'll all have a different role and scope, but thank you for what you're doing, because when we're dealing with 1,500 students, and we've got 13,000 in our district, we're touching 10% of our students that summer and helping them either bridge and meet them on all different levels and different needs. So thank y'all for what you're doing and the success that you're having. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, going back to a question I think that Louis was asking, the very first one, in terms of looking at your data and that in Dream Camp you're keeping your own data based on those students. My question is, do you share that data then with the following year's teacher? So in other words, if they're going into 4th grade, is that data on that individual, on Jesse, then shared with that teacher? And I guess and the reason I'm bringing that up is because we've had Shannon, Dr. Tovar, talk to us in terms of how our youngsters are doing as they progress over the years, and we've looked at 5 years and 6 years. But we all agree that early intervention and in the primary grades is essential and critical and to the success of that student. And by the time they get to 3rd grade, you pretty much can tell how that youngster will perform. So given that, are we then taking this data that we're capturing from these tier 2 and tier 3 youngsters, and are we then sharing that with the teacher in terms of how they can then use that to support and enhance that experience
Right.
for that student?
Well, one thing about it is what we worked on with each student is what they're on a tier for.
Right.
And so their teacher knows what they need to be working on. We did not share that with them this year, but that's not to say that we won't do it next year.
Yeah, but the teacher knows that information from that previous grade, right? So
Correct.
it's a 2nd grade.
Correct.
So I guess my question is, But are we sharing that then with the third grade teacher, where that child will then be the following year?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
We are.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Okay. You mentioned inviting the kids. Can you describe how you invite them and what kind of response rates you
You
get?
guys want to talk about it?
We actually gave personal invitations to the students, and with a letter to the parent explaining that we were by invitation only, inviting them so we could help them work in certain areas.
Okay. And what was the response rate? Did you get?
We had actually 21 more sign up than actually attended because plans changed. But how many do you think we didn't?
I don't know, because we did rolling invites. Like if people declined their spot, we went ahead and went to the next year
Yes.
and invited so that we could fill up as much as possible.
Our goal was to have 300 students, and we ended up with 241 that ended up being about 220. So our goal this year is to start earlier and to even get fifth graders in it as well.
Our families plan early.
Yeah.
They do.
Are we sending those invites in English and Spanish?
Absolutely. Everything.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
For staying late. Move on to item G, update on the 2016 bond program.
Yes, I see Gary here to help brief us on the bond program. I'll ask Paula to give us a brief introduction.
Thank you, sir. Well, the 2019 projects, with the exception of Grapevine High School, are actually nearing completion. And Grapevine High School, of course, we knew was going to be in progress through February. So really, we're pretty much on schedule for all of these projects and in their phase. And what's kind of interesting about tonight's update is to give you a little bit of before and after when it comes to the learning commons of the campuses that we renovated this past summer. So with that, I'll let Gary get started.
Thank you, Paula. Good evening, trustees. Dr. Ryan, it's good to be back with you tonight. Please excuse my sinus and cold. I've just kind of stumbled through this, but man, it's killer. Sorry for the way this might sound. But as Paula mentioned, we're going to take you through sort of a before and after, as well as kind of touching on some things that are still left to be done and that we're working on with the contractors. So we'll start at Grapevine High School. The learning commons areas are complete now. The controlled vestibule and new reception areas have ceilings and casework and storefront installed, and waiting for some infrastructure on the security piece as well. You'll see some of those in the pictures. Installation of the cooling tower is scheduled to occur in the next few weeks, so that's a big milestone that's up and coming. Installation of HVAC controls and fire sprinkler items and devices still continue. And the parking lot, if you haven't been there, it's repaired, it's done, and the fencing is has been removed and it's being used. So that's a project good to have behind us. So if we look at what that was, Grapevine High School with their learning commons and what it is today, you can see a marked improvement in that area. It's brighter. I'll just kind of flip back every now. So it's brighter. Different lighting systems, LED lighting systems, new carpet patterns, paint colors, and really a good refresh on furniture. And you'll see that really throughout. So it looks really good. And in the receptionist areas, as mentioned, all that casework's in. They're dropping ceiling tiles and lights, and life safety devices are going in as well. The baseball field, the outfield fence it's complete, and the painting has begun. So that's taking shape and looks really, really good out there. Moving to O.C. Taylor, Learning Commons complete. Upgrades to the control vestibules are now complete as well. So if you recall, at O.C. Taylor, this is what that looked like in the Learning Commons, and this is what the new Learning Commons looks like. So just a bit of a different look, opened it up, brightened it up. Again, furniture plays a huge role and piece in this, along with the lighting as well. So the control vestibule, if you recall how you come in, there on the right, the security kiosks there, as was mentioned earlier, play an integral part in that. So you'll see Siemens is in various stages of hooking up these devices and getting them active. So that's in progress. Golly. I'm sure which water that was. Okay, so Glen Hope Elementary School. Again, Learning Commons are complete. Control vestibules have those kiosks installed. Connections of the infrastructure are continuing. At Glen Hope, we're looking at some areas of indoor air quality that were reported. So there's some brick removal, and we're looking at some of those areas still under investigation. So I'll have some more to report to you next time, but that's ongoing there at Glen Hope. You'll see there the existing or the old Learning Commons and then what it looks like today. A significant difference. Again, lighting, you can tell just really the old fluorescent lights there, and dark carpeting, dark wood of furniture, and then how that brightens it up. So really a great space with their maker spaces and commons areas. Again, control vestibules, the kiosks are installed. And then moving to Grapevine Elementary School, Learning Commons again complete. New control vestibules again. Within the new addition for the campus, the slab's been poured and all the steel's been erected, and you'll see that in a second. Contractors working on framing all of the exterior walls and really preparing to start setting roof panels and the like. So then there'll be some exterior stud work done, insulation, and then we'll try to get that dried in as soon as possible. The existing Learning Commons, what it was, and then what it is today. Again, just you can see the dark wood, dark furniture, lights, old panels and stuff, and really a vibrant area with new furnishings, etc. Again, control vestibules with the kiosks. This is the exterior stud system with at the addition, so that's coming along nicely. Be ready for roofing here really soon. Inside that, again, all structural steel's up, decking ready for roofing, and just starting to run electrical and really the infrastructure for all of the systems that'll go in. At Silver Lake, again, same comments there in terms of Learning Commons and the infrastructure for the control vestibules. The Learning Commons here versus what it is today. So there's some similarities in some of these campuses, but again, they were different a little bit in terms of what they were. And so we tried to really kind of stay with, at least with what we call the sister schools, in a similar vein with what we're putting in there. So really looks good, and control vestibules as well. At Colleyville Middle School, again, same comments there. The couch. Yes, I don't know what
one of my favorite pieces,
actually. So I'm not sure where the couch went, but it's not in this picture. So it looks so much different. You can tell here. It's just really giving it a nice feel. Some of the other miscellaneous items at the reception area and control vestibule, that's coming together. We had talked previously about the storefront and hardware and different things like that. That's in place now. And so we're really ready to go there at Colleyville Middle School. At Cross Timbers, same, really, at the Learning Commons, there's some additional lighting to happen over the Genius Bar. And then again, with the control vestibules, that's happening at the Learning Commons. This is what it was, and this is what it looks like today. So again, that's some dark furniture. So that really livens it up a little bit. So the control vestibules, again, remember the addition there we had to do to make that work. And so ready for the installation of the security kiosks there on the right. And at Dove, same comments there. And this is a couple of shots at Learning Commons, what it was and what it is today. It's a bit of a dark picture. It's quite a bit brighter than that, but
yeah, well, that's Dove.
Yep, looks good. Looks really good. And you'll know at Cross Timbers the control vestibule the kiosks there. So a couple of wrap-up things at Canon. The subcontractors in really their final stages of test and balance the HVAC system. They're working on installing some dampers to those systems and to different ductwork areas. The HVAC systems have improved in rooms where adjustments been made, so we're still continuing with Chris and his team to monitor those areas. Obviously, it does change with the seasons changing, so we'll have to keep on that in terms of the heat mode and really stay after it once we come to the new cycle and come into the next summer. So we'll be watching that. We're still walking a lot of the punch list things. We're down to a few civil site-related things, so that's ongoing. And then the contractor, Lee Lewis, has been assembling closeout documents, and those are starting to come in as well, getting ready really, truly to close those out, both from a building standpoint and from a financial standpoint. So, and then Mustang Panther Stadium, we're commissioning the sound. I know we've spent some time out here with Chris and his folks in the district looking at the sound system from the PA sound as well, and so commissioning this system really says that we're going to start aiming these speakers in the right way. We're going to start testing EQ systems and different things within that system, things that really need to be done to finalize that. So we're on top of that. Lowell spent quite a bit of time out here last week, and I think he was here Friday night as well. So working on that. And then the installation of the stairwell graphics. I don't know if you saw that, but when you leave tonight, they look really good in the stairwells. And so make note of that. And then a few punch list items on the grounds themselves are being taken care of. And again, closeout documents are in progress.
Are they looking at doing another, I was up there in the control booth, the video room, and are they doing something with the AC in there?
We are.
Those servers being so hot?
We are. We're actually, our MEP consultants are designing a unit similar to what you see in a tech hub or, just kind of an MDF room.
Okay.
So that'll be, it's in design right now. We'll bring that to you as well. Yep, that's in the works. Yes, sir. So here's some of the graphics that you'll see. One on the left is
Both of those are the North Stair Tower.
the North Stair.
They haven't started the South Stair
Right,
Tower, but
okay.
that was there as of Thursday or Friday.
I thought
The
I
first and
saw-
second level still had the third level to go. Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're both.
All right.
Yep.
Moving quickly.
Moving quickly. And then finally here at the Max, unit heater work is now complete and it works. Graphics installation has begun. And then there was a reported issue at the Grapevine, wasn't it? One of the louvers was leaking, one of those high wind rain events, and so we're investigating that, why it's leaking. So we're working on that, but that's done. This is just a shot here at
This is a big deal here.
this is a big deal.
The graphics and the Mac and the pack.
Moment of silence.
We've had to refer to this for way too long, but the wait was worth it.
Yeah, it looks.
You go to them.
Skimming of walls.
That's right.
Applied material.
3 times the
Almost
charge.
need a moment of silence here.
You breaking out in sweats?
Hives.
You want to look at this a little longer?
Are we supposed to ooh and ah over it?
Yes, sir.
Much.
It looks good.
They look good.
It looks good. Yeah, it really looks good. So, any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Gary, can you go back to just any one of the pictures of the Learning Commons?
Sure.
I'm going to pick my favorite.
Oh, which one? No, really. Do you have a favorite?
No, they're.
They're all, yeah.
Now you gotta
Now I put you on the spot. Never mind. Just pick one. Just pick one. All right, that's perfect right there. So, I have to admit that when we very first brought these up in the bond, I was kind of like, do we really need to renovate the libraries? And what we've really come up with here is such a creative, efficient use of space, right? So whereas before everything was very static, all those bookshelves, they're up against the walls, they're not moving, they're not going anywhere. The furniture was very heavy, it was difficult to move. If you needed to do anything with it, it was really hard.
Right.
And now what we've done is we've taken a static space and it's got multiple uses. And I think when you talk about getting bang for your buck, I think much like the multi-purpose centers, that we're going to find that we're going to be using these in ways that we couldn't have imagined. And I was just thinking that if y'all could come up with a way that we could be this creative with the cafeterias too, because it's a lot of square footage, that'd be great. But even just looking at this one, you know, you can, if you need to, you can move the bookshelves out of the way, or if you wanted to do some book event, then you can move them into the center of the room. The librarian can, you know, set them up however he or she wishes to do that. The tables, you know, the kids could do small groups. You could sit them in a horseshoe. You've got the more, you know, living room type seating there in the back that really makes more of a homey feel. You know, a kid is just going to sit there and read a book. And I think that these have all turned out to be really amazing uses of space. So,
Well, appreciate that. That was not without a lot of effort from staff and the willingness to go there. In some districts, you're starting to see a combination of learning commons and cafeteria, and either a more student union kind of thing. And so it's just really where you are and where they are in proximity to each other. Sometimes you can combine them. Sometimes they're just in two different locations, and it's a little more difficult, but this is a great step for y'all.
yeah, the one over at Grapevine High School, you know, just those additional spaces that have been creative there. That do you have one? Yeah, there was one. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, I think, on the picture.
The pictures don't do it justice. You need to
for
stand
having
in the
rooms.
space,
Yeah, and
honestly.
especially for having those small group meeting rooms. I know over at the Grapevine City Library, those rooms are booked solid. You can't get into them hardly. And providing those additional spaces to teachers or to clubs and student groups to use those. Yeah, you really can't see them in this picture.
Can't see
yeah,
them
because
those
they're off on
days.
the.
Yeah, we moved our whole PTA meeting into the one on the far right.
On
and
the
then
far right, that
then
big
the
space.
Learning Commons, they were able to still have the teachers and the kids. You know, we weren't interrupting. You could close it off. It was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty versatile.
In Learning Commons, the walls, the renovated walls are pretty bare right now. Is the intent to keep them like that, where it's kind of that sleek modern look, or are PTA's gonna, or Booster Club's gonna do murals, or gonna put stuff, decorations on the walls?
I hope not murals. I'll be
I am
honest.
not an interior
They're very
decorator, so
hard to
don't ask me
maintain.
what the right answer is.
That-
I just wanna-
I do think there's supposed to be a little bit of the sleek modern. I do know that over time, things will get added to what appear to be kind of bare walls right now. But I will say the overwhelming response from students is that they find these to be much more inviting spaces where they want to spend time. It's hard to tell in the pictures the impact of the collaboration rooms that they're being able to make use of. And I think probably one of the campuses with the most dramatic change in terms of what it was before and what it is now in terms of overall utility, how it feels when you're in that space and in that school, is over at Dove. Grapevine High School is pretty amazing too, because of just the way it opened that space up like it hadn't been experienced before, coming off that walkway with the courtyard. But the one at Dove is truly something, if you remember what it was prior to the renovation.
We do see sometimes on those, I say just blank or stark walls, some districts or campuses will decide to put a writing surface on there, full height, all the way across. And so it's a step to take. It's an administration kind of issue sometimes to keep them clean and keep them, you know,
free of things you don't want
okay,
to.
yes, okay to read kind of stuff. But yeah, so that they are such that you can do that if you choose. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Move on to item H, review owner contingency expenditures.
Yes, you can see packages A, B, and C of the owner contingency expenditures for your review.
Sorry, I just got logged out. questions? Move on to item I, review the 2019-2020 board planning calendar.
Just one change for this month. That's the student-teacher calendar, which we'll be bringing to you in December.
Any questions? Now move on to item J, request for reports to the board. Do I have any? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda for approval. Jesse?
Yeah, I'd like for us on the consent agenda to remove item G, L, and M.
Thank you, Jesse. Any others? I have a motion for the remainder. Jesse?
Yes, I move that we approve items A through F, H through K, N through O on the consent agenda.
Have a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Doug. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item G, approve ELA instructional materials adoption committee.
Yes, this is,
Yeah, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
this is the roster of committee members. And you can see on page 170 the roster. Recommendations for the Board of Trustees to approve the selection committee for the upcoming ELA Instructional Materials Adoption Committee.
Motion for the recommendation.
So moved.
Doug, second. Jorge, thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted the minutes and the record to show that I will be abstaining from this vote.
Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 6-0 with Jesse abstaining. Item L, bid on consulting training, professional and character development, business classroom and student services.
Yes, this is an update this month for this particular bid. You can see the businesses that have completed the bid on page 186. Recommendations for Board of Trustees to award the proposal for consulting, training, professional, and character development, business, classroom, and student services to Gregory Glover, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Camico, Instructional Media, Mr. David, Origo Education, Power School, and David Quintana, and Touchman.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Do I have a motion for the recommendation?
Move that we accept Dr. Ryan's recommendation.
Thank you. In a second. Louis, thank you. And discussion? Jesse?
This is another item that I will be abstaining from voting, please.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries, 6-0 with Jesse abstaining.
Yes, ma'am.
Move on to item M, bid on technology services, equipment, and software supplemental.
Yes, this is also a supplemental bid. We had one respondent, App Garden, and that is on page 189. Recommendations for the Board of Trustees to award the supplemental proposal for technology services, equipment, and software to App Garden.
Do I have a recommendation? I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Louis. Second?
Second.
Doug, thank you. Discussion?
And this is the third and last item that I will be abstaining from this vote as well.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other questions or comments?
What, how come only one vendor on this?
It's only one this is a supplemental, so this is not just one bid. This is an additional bid, and we have
what we
one
had before.
response. So,
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0 with Jesse abstaining. Thank you. Move on to announcements. Do I have any? Jesse?
Yes, and I know that we'll be meeting one more time, but I just wanted to remind everyone that the second meeting for the North Texas Area Association of School Boards will occur on Wednesday, November the 6th. It'll be over at Coppell Middle School West and Coppell ISD, which is in Irving, Texas, from 6 to 8:30. And our speaker that night will be Ms. Flores, who is with TASB Risk Management. And her topic will be, is your district prepared to respond to a crisis?
Is that Coppell Middle School West?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. and it's from 6 to 8:30. Dinner will be served, and I did send that out to all board presidents and superintendents in regions 10 and 11. And we do have an RSVP information on there, as well as when you RSVP any dietary needs,
Okay.
for you to respond to that. So,
Great.
look forward to seeing as many of my fellow trustees there.
I can make it, thank you. We do have a meeting on November
Fourth.
4th. Chicken bake.
And don't forget, there is an election going on right now. There's
Started today.
Early voting.
early voting's underway for, I think it's 10 amendments to the
Right.
Texas Constitution.
This is a busy week with lots of red ribbon activities going on.
Red ribbon
Week?
I wasn't going to struggle with that at all until you
activities.
said something.
We've also got the Red Rail game
Yes.
on Friday, and
Yeah.
then prior to that, we've got the Walk of Honor induction.
So we need to RSVP to that. That's at 4:30 at the MAC.
Mac.
Yep.
I seen band area
Yeah.
competition is Saturday
That's correct. That's
There's
correct.
a lot going on.
Where is that?
in Birdville.
In Birdville?
Did you remember that?
Okay. And don't forget the football
They're sheep-tastic.
game Friday night.
The band and drill team competition with a football game on either side?
That's it. So as you know, I have to adjourn the meeting with Panther Pride Never Dies at 9:48.
Did you ask for a motion?
Oh, I need a motion. Oh.